Hey guys, Zach here. Welcome to the Messy Man Cave. We're talking about working on your fortune through buying and selling. So let's talk about the magic wealth formula. Ready? This formula could change your life. This could make the difference between living in poverty forever and becoming wealthy. Now this is a big secret, okay? Nobody knows this, and it's highly complex math. So pay close attention. The magic wealth formula is the amount of money you have coming in, or your income, minus the amount of money that you spend equals how much wealth you have. Wow. So your income minus your expenses equals your wealth. I'll see you next week. No, just kidding. I know you're sitting there right now thinking, man, I want my money back, right? Well, fortunately, this video didn't cost you any money at all. I know it sounds incredibly simple, sounds really basic, sounds really obvious. If that's the case, how come no one can figure this out, right? Everybody, if you listen to what people say, you look at what people talk about, everybody is concentrating on one side of the formula and ignoring the other. Everybody is obsessed with income, with making more money. No one ever wants to talk about how much they spend, but that's half the formula. And if you want to see what a difference it makes, let me just give you a little example, okay? Let's say you and I both make $1,000 this month on eBay, right? And I spend $999 of what I made. So my wealth is 1,000 minus $999. I have $1 of wealth in the bank. But let's say you only spend half, okay? You spend $500, you have $500 left, your wealth is $500. So even though we have the same income, you end up 500 times richer than me at the end of the month because you didn't spend it. That's the power of the whole formula. That's why obsessing with income is a waste of time. You have to look at the whole formula and especially the end result, which is the wealth. For some reason, people can't figure this out. I think it's because, the income side is more fun. I mean, what's more fun? Making an extra $100 this month or squeezing an extra $100 out of your budget, cutting down on your expenses, and lowering your expenses by $100. Either way, you end up $100 ahead, but which way is more fun? It's more fun to make the $100. I think that's part of why people don't want to talk about the expense side. But the other thing is, a lot of people believe that their income is kind of beyond their control, I mean, their income is whatever their job pays. They don't think about this, doing a business on the side and side hustling and that sort of thing. Their income is whatever their job pays them, and that's beyond their control. Spending is under your control, right? I mean, if you have a mortgage, it's because you chose to buy that house. If you have a cable bill, it's because you chose to sign up for cable. So we're responsible for our expenses. In some people's mind, the income is beyond their control. So if the problem is over here with the income, then it's not their fault that they're broke. But if the problem's over here with the expenses, whose fault is it that they're broke? It's theirs, and they don't want to accept that. So again, they ignore or discount the expenses side of the wealth formula. So for an example, let's say you're, sorry, there's a bug here. Let's say that your broke Uncle Dave comes over and he's rooting around in your fridge for a beer. And you say, "How you doing, Uncle Dave?" And he starts telling you about how broke he is. And, "Well, how come you're so broke, Uncle Dave?" Over here, the income side of the formula. He's not making enough money. The boss isn't paying him what he's worth. The economy sucks, so he can't get a good paying job. Whatever the case may be. He's not making enough money. Now, I'm not saying that some people don't have an income problem. Some people do. But in Dave's mind, it's always an income problem, no matter how much he makes. And since the problem is income, the solution is also over here on the income side. He thinks that if he could make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, all his problems would be solved. It would be smooth sailing from then on. If you want Uncle Dave to go away and leave you alone, start talking about the expense side of things. Oh, I'm so broke. Hey, Uncle Dave, how much do you spend on beer and cigarettes every month? What's that got to do with anything? Hey, Uncle Dave, I noticed last time I was at your house, you got like the super cable with the NFL package. What's that cost you? I work hard. I deserve to watch a football game. Okay, Uncle Dave. And the more you talk about this, the faster he's going to leave you alone, because he doesn't want to think about that. He doesn't want to blame himself and his spending for his problems. He wants to blame the boss, the economy, whatever. You know, when you talk about poor people, it's kind of the same thing. You know, ask somebody, how come there's so many poor people? Well, I'm talking about the United States here. Yeah, they just don't have enough money. You know, we need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We need to put more money into these social programs. And that might be valid, but when's the last time you heard someone say, hey, let's examine the spending habits of these poor people? Hey, let's put a program in place to teach poor kids in school how to be responsible with money, how to spend. Let's teach them about investing. Let's teach them about compound interest. Have you ever heard that? No. Okay, no one pays any mind to how poor people spend their money. The solution is always give them more. But giving people more money, unfortunately, does not solve things, because that's only half the equation. You know, look at Mike Tyson. He received over $200 million from his boxing career, and now he has nothing because he spent it all. Professional athletes, these guys get paid massive amounts of money. 70% of professional athletes, NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, these guys are broke within 3 years after they get out of the league. And some of these guys make more money in a year than most people make in a lifetime. But it doesn't matter. They're still broke 3 years after they get out of the league, because there's no amount of money you can't spend. So just concentrating on the income side is a waste of time. Same thing with the government. How come the government's broke? How come we're borrowing money from China? The rich people aren't paying their fair share, that's why. People aren't putting enough money into the system. No one wants to talk about the bridges to nowhere, the $10,000 toilet seats, you know, the billions of dollars we're giving to Iran. You know, nobody wants to talk about that. It's always government that doesn't have enough money coming in. So to demonstrate what a difference this whole formula can make to your life, I want to talk about 3 eBay sellers. And we're going to follow their career over a 4-year period, okay? These fictional eBay sellers. Because the same thing is true in this world of buying and selling in eBay. After this video is over, look on YouTube for other people talking about how to make money on eBay, how to run an eBay business. You're going to find dozens and dozens of people talking about how to make money on eBay. You're not going to find anybody telling you what to do with your profits after you make them. Absolutely nobody talks about that. That's why I'm here doing this. That's why I felt the need to make these videos. There's already plenty of people telling you how to make money on eBay. I want to tell you how to spend it. I want to tell you how to turn it into wealth. So let's look at 3 fictional eBay sellers over a 4-year period. First we have Jasper. Jasper was watching some YouTube videos, and he saw that people should have a side hustle. People should have a side business. So he starts buying and selling on the side. He's got a day job. And on the side, he's running this little eBay business, and he makes $5,000 his first year. So let's look at the eBay formula, or the Magic Wealth formula. His income from eBay is $5,000. How much he spends is $5,000, because he just treats this as extra income, right? The money he makes on eBay, he just puts in his bank account and pays bills with it. You know, buys a nicer vacation this year with it. It's just extra money that he spends. So income $5,000, expenses $5,000. His total wealth at the end of the year from eBay is 0. In other words, if he just sat on his butt and done nothing, he would have the same amount of wealth in the bank as he does now. He might have a little bit nicer stuff. He might have paid the bills a little easier this year. But as far as long-term wealth, he hasn't gone anywhere. He made $5,000, he spent $5,000. So he's not getting ahead in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. His wealth has gone up by $0, okay, with all the work he's done. Now, next we have eBay seller number 2, Jeremy. Jeremy is someone who decides to quit his job and just really hammer this buying and selling stuff. He's going to go full-time. He's going to go full bore, full speed. And so he's up at 6 o'clock every morning. He's the first guy at the thrift store when it opens. He's the early bird at the yard sale, you know, etc., etc. And he does pretty well. You know, he's buying hundreds of things, t-shirts, coffee mugs, small electronics. He's selling hundreds of things, shipping hundreds of things, and he makes, you know, $50,000 his first year. Pretty good. So, magic wealth formula, he makes $50,000. How much does he spend? Well, we all know how that works, right? People who make $20,000 a year, they spend $20,000 a year. People who make $100,000 a year, somehow their living expenses are $100,000 a year. It's like magic, right? So if he makes $50,000 a year, he's probably going to spend about $50,000 a year if this is his income. But let's be generous and say that he's got, you know, a little bit of discipline. He puts $1,000 aside in his savings account. So his income is $50,000. Expenses are $49,000. His total wealth is $1,000. Now we have John. John has been a student of Jim Rohn, the famous motivational speaker. And Jim Rohn says that you should have a side business where you work on your fortune. So your day job is there to pay the bills, but you should be doing something else 15 hours a week to work on your fortune. So the money is not to be spent, the money is to be reinvested in building the business. And eventually, hopefully, it'll grow to make you wealthy. So this is his approach. He starts buying and selling part-time on the weekends, and he too makes $5,000 his first year doing this part-time. So let's look at his wealth formula. He makes $5,000 income. Expenses, the amount he spends is $0. So at the end of the year, he's got $5,000 in the bank. Interesting, huh? Jeremy, the full-time guy, made $50,000. He's got $1,000 in the bank. John, the part-time guy, made $5,000. He's got $5,000 in the bank. So John's 5 times richer at the end of the year than Jeremy, even though Jeremy was knocking this out full-time. Now year 2. Jeremy, the full-time guy, says, I did well last year. I made $50,000. I paid my bills. I'm not gonna fix what's not broken. So he just keeps doing the same thing. He's buying and selling t-shirts, coffee mugs, small electronics. Makes another $50,000 a year, puts another $1,000 aside. End of year 2, he's got $2,000. Now John looks at this and says, you know, I want to increase my income. That's how you become wealthy, you know. You take advantage of compounding. And there's really 2 ways to do that. You can work harder or you can work smarter. Now the harder way to double your income with buying and selling is to sell twice as much stuff. So in year 1, John was selling t-shirts and coffee mugs and same thing as the other guys. But he realizes if he wants to double his income or better, he's going to have to sell twice as many t-shirts and coffee mugs and everything else, which means twice as much work, twice as much shopping, twice as much packing and shipping, etc. And he just doesn't have time for that. He's a part-time guy. So he decides to increase his income the smart way, which is to do bigger, better deals. Because the more expensive items are, the more profit potential there is. You know, selling a bottle of water, you can make, what, $1 or $2? But sell a car, you can make a couple thousand, 5,000. Sell a house, you can make tens of thousands. So he moves up to bigger, better deals. He looks at the situation and he says, I'm a pretty good mechanic. I have tools. I have $5,000 in the bank to work with. So I'm going to move up to, say, used cars that need work. So he starts going to impound auctions And twice a month he's able to buy a car that needs fixing up. He puts some work into it, turns around and flips it. And doing 2 deals a month, he's able to make $1,000 a deal. $1,000 profit per car, give or take. So he's making $2,000 a month, or $24,000 his second year. Let's call it $25,000 for simplicity's sake. So in year 2, John makes $25,000 flipping cars. Plus he's got the $5,000 still that from last year. At the end of year 2, John has $30,000 in the bank. Jeremy, the full-time guy, has $2,000 in the bank. Now let's go to year 3. Jeremy keeps doing the same stuff, makes 50 grand, puts $1,000 aside. End of year 3, Jeremy has $3,000 in the bank. John now has $30,000 to work with. So he moves up to nicer cars. Instead of the junkers from the impound auction, he's buying and selling used Porsches, Cadillacs, Lexuses, Mercedes-Benz. And he's able to boost his profits to about $2,500 a car. And he's still doing 2 cars a month, so he's making about $5,000 a month. Which means that in year 3, John makes $60,000, which is more than Jeremy made, even though Jeremy is full-time. Pretty cool. This is the power of compounding. So John has $60,000 plus the $30,000 he had before that he started with. End of year 3, John has $90,000 in the bank. So year 4, the end of the story. Jeremy does the same thing, makes $50,000, puts another $1,000 in the bank. He's got $4,000 at the end of the year. John once again moves up. Now he moves up into real estate. He's got $90,000 in the bank to work with. He starts looking for some cheap foreclosures. He starts fixing them up. He does some of the work himself. He hires some of it out. And because it's so much more work dealing with real estate, he's only able to do 5 deals a year. He was doing 24, 25 cars. Now he's only doing 5 houses. But he's making $20,000 profit on each house. So in year 4, John makes $100,000 part-time, which is twice as much as Jeremy made. So what happens then? Well, Jeremy has been hustling for 4 years. Every month he's afraid that he's not going to sell enough stuff to pay the bills. It's a very stressful type of life. And as much as he loved getting away from that day job, man, the idea of a steady check and benefits is starting to sound really good. So at the end of 4 years, he gives up the eBay thing and goes back to his day job. And he's $4,000 richer than he started with. John, on the other hand, just made $100,000 part-time. He quits his job and goes full-time. And since he was making $100,000 15 hours a week, he's able to quickly double and then triple that amount by doing it full-time and flipping houses full-time. He's still living on the same amount of money, but now he's making like $300,000 a year, and that money is just rolling, and he's able to move out to more and more real estate. He's getting richer and richer every year. Within a few short years, he's a millionaire. He's retired, and life is good. See? So that's the difference. Even though John started out making 10 times less money than Jeremy, he was able to turn that into a massive fortune, while Jeremy just ended up spending all his money on bills and eventually quitting and going back to his day job. That's the importance of looking at this whole formula. It's not just income. And this is an emotional thing. I feel it too. Just like everybody else, I feel like an extra $1,000 a month would make my life easy, Emotionally, it feels that way, but logically, I know that if I made an extra $1,000 a month, I'd probably just spend an extra $1,000 a month like everybody else. Why? Because that's what's happened to me. 10 years ago, I was making like $300 a week. Now I make many times that. Do I have a bunch of extra money hanging around? No. Because my expenses went up magically as I made money. So you have to reinvest the money. Now, I don't actually recommend you reinvest all the money. Okay? that could backfire. Let's say that for 2 years you're buying and selling and reinvesting all that money, and then you totally screw up and you buy, I don't know, some fancy paintings that turn out to be fakes. Suddenly you've just lost all the money you spent 2 years building up. So I don't actually recommend reinvesting all of the money. I recommend doing something else, but I'm going to talk about that in another video. Just realize, magic wealth formula, you have to concentrate on your income, you have to concentrate on your expenses, and you definitely have to concentrate on the end result, which is the wealth. Okay? You have to get your expenses under control before you think about increasing your income. Once you've got your expenses under control, then increasing your income makes a huge difference. But just increasing your income on its own makes no difference, because if you don't pay attention, your expenses will just go right back up to whatever your new income is. That's the lesson for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video where I talk about what to actually do with the money, how to divide it up. See you later.